Hello everybody, welcome again to another episode of the Dan Banchero Show. I'm your host, and still a major league piece of work, Dan Banchero. It's a lovely day out here in Foster City by the bay. The water's nice and still. You got the planes flying in, the seabirds are chirping. Man, it's a good day to be alive. Anyway, so today I thought we'd get into sex, dishonesty, relationships, accountability, maybe a little bit about communication. I know throughout the years that I had so many disturbing relationships. A lot of it had to do with the way I was behaving. A lot of it had to do with the women involved. At any rate, I had to take a look at my part and do an honest appraisal of myself. I remember I was reading the 24 Hours a Day yesterday, and in that little book for the date of October the 23rd, man, this thing hit me like a bolt of lightning, this reading. Check this out. Thought for the day, again, from the 24 Hours a Day. I have learned how to be honest. What a relief. No more ducking or dodging. No more tall tales. No more pretending to be what I am not. My cards are on the table for all the world to see. I am what I am, as Popeye used to say in the comics. I have had an unsavory past. I'm sorry, yes, but it cannot be changed now. All that is yesterday, and it's done. But now my life is an open book. Come and look at it if you want to. I'm trying to do the best that I can. I will fail often, but I won't make excuses. I will face things as they are and not run away. Whammo, man. Talk about exactly what this whole project's been about. Getting honest, doing a little revelation of myself, cleaning my conscience, and hopefully inspiring somebody else who's going through some troubled times. So I remember it was suggested to me when doing an appraisal of myself when it came to relationships. Somebody told me to take out a piece of paper and make 2 columns. In one column, he wanted me to write, what did I advertise? And in the next column, he said, what did I deliver? You want to talk about an eye-opener. Man, was I full of it. You know, I used to get upset with the girlfriends I'd have over the years, and, you know, in my early 20s, I had a very, very distorted view of reality. You know, I was then, like I said, many of you knew that I used to, you know, have a good time and party and stuff, and there was no really bad intentions, but sometimes my selfishness would kick in, and I was not a good boyfriend to anybody. So, in the Oxford group, they have a pamphlet called What is the Oxford Group? And on page 46, it says, can we sit down even for a few moments and face the self the world does not see and tell that self the absolute truth? Then, having told that hidden self about the absolute truth, we can be honest and let that truth become a conscious part of ourselves. How many of us can do that? So, I had to take a look at this list here of this appraisal. What did I advertise? What did I deliver? I had to take a look at all the things that I was doing in the relationship that, you know, were detrimental to the relationship. I had to take a look at my justified resentments at the time. And what was I fearing in the relationship? How did I harm these people? What was my agenda in the relationship? Did I have an ulterior motive? So, you know, many people are in relationships, and sometimes they don't even know what's going on. There's a lot of lies, there's a lot of deception, lust, manipulation, ulterior motives like I spoke of, infidelity, and codependency. I know that's what I went through. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm getting a pass, but, you know, at the time I really didn't know any better. I was exposed to a lot of music that degraded women. I was exposed to pornography at an early age, and I had this distorted view of how women should be treated and what they wanted. So you mix that with some alcohol, and you know, I wasn't a player by any means, but I definitely wanted to be a playboy, and there was no way I was going to attract a good woman in my life based on the behavior that I had. But it took me years to figure this out. So, back to the Oxford group. On page 47 of that pamphlet, it says, honesty in morals is an essential to a real happiness which has no fear of the present or future. How can any husband or wife live in perfect understanding if either has a secret, should it come to light from an outside source, will wreck their partnership? If real, unshakable love exists between two people, whatever the fault that one may confess to the other, it will sink into insignificance, or take its proper place between them, if honesty is made as a tribute to that love. A sin which comes to life from an outside source often destroys the union of two people. Reluctant to be honest with our faults, mistakes, or sins with a person we are united to by love, it is lack of faith, not only in that person, but also in the reality of that love. So, if I'm living this double life, and not just myself, I've seen others do this, men and women, it's like they want to have their cake and eat it too. They got this person that they say has all these great attributes, they're exactly what they're looking for, but they still want to have a little side action because that sexual lust kicks in, and they have all these desires. And sometimes it's an ego thing, quantity is better than quality. Whatever the case may be, there's a lot of deceit in relationships, and I see it happening more often than not. Now for me, I was doing things and I'd regret it the next day. And at the time, I was really dependent on alcohol to hide or mask my feelings of guilt, shame, remorse, pity, all those things. So what would happen is I would try to cover up these feelings, and then I'd make things even worse. I'd continue to act out even more. Then I started blaming my girlfriend at the time for their bad behaviors, causing me to do what I was doing, and I was justifying my bad behavior. Well, if she didn't act this way, then I wouldn't do that thing, and you get the gist of it. Now, if I'm going to confess my sins to the person that I want to be with, and I'm going to make an honest effort to change and address my bad behaviors, that's an honesty that helps the relationship if the person will give me a pardon. But if I'm admitting it, and this is just the way it is, I'm going to continue to do it, then shame on my girlfriend for continuing to be in the relationship with a person like me, and shame on myself for putting that girl through those things. So I was very dishonest with most of the women that I dated or had relations with in my early 20s, and sometimes even in my early 30s. I was constantly covering up poor decisions I had made due to my drinking, and I was living this double life. I was a dishonest man, and that's all it comes down to. They had to deal with things like me making passes at other women at bars or parties, calling or texting other women with some type of hidden sexual motive, even though I'd be saying they're just friends. Pleasing myself to pornography when they weren't around. In any type of relationship, who wants to find out that their partner is using pornography to get off on their sexual desires and fantasies? That makes them feel unwanted. On a side note, I just want to say that pornography is destroying American relationships. It's putting unrealistic expectations sexually, physically. It's putting fantasy ahead of love. It's really destroying America. And I'm surprised that it's not addressed more out in public by the media. So, other things I was doing, it also causes people to spend less time intimately with their partners. So I stayed in some relationships also too long, hoping the girls would change without even taking a look at, what I'm doing or how I'm behaving or how I'm acting or thinking. And I would not sit and just contemplate, okay, what do I need to do differently? Okay, now many of you know that I went through some troubles and I had to do an honest appraisal of how I've been behaving and acting and thinking over the years. So that's how I came to these conclusions about myself. Women would ask me to move in with them after dating just for a few days or a few weeks, and in the early part of the relationship. So maybe the way I was looking at women and treating women was attracting me to more sick women, and they were codependents as well as I, and this is what the universe was bringing to me. So myself and the women that I was involved with had to suffer many, many consequences. There was a lot of pain, a lot of emotional, troubles, and some people stay in relationships that I see out of complete fear. They don't want to leave. It's like they're very, very unhappy with whoever they're dating or whoever they're married to, but for whatever reason, they're staying in these relationships. Some of them are just very insecure. They ask themselves things like, am I the only single person in my group of my friends? I don't want to be single. All my other friends are dating somebody who are married. You know, or some people I know are staying in the relationship just for convenient sex, so they don't feel like they're sleeping around. Some people are just validating themselves by being in a relationship. Again, some people just don't want to be single. They're afraid of what people are going to view of them. Like, there's got to be something wrong with this person if they're single. You know, they're afraid of life changes. Some people are, you know, afraid to move out of where they're living at. They have a roof, they have a nice home, they have nice objects. The person might be a provider that they're with. However, the person that they're with who's providing for them might be abusive in some type of form or way. They might be a cheat. And these people stay in these relationships just because of the convenience of having a home or having money in the bank. So they're afraid of life changes. You know, they don't know where they're going to go. What are people going to think of these changes I need to make to give myself some peace? And they don't do it, and they stay in these relationships. So in recovery, unfortunately, I hear of people stay in these relationships, and they stay in so much pain that they start abusing drugs or alcohol to cover these feelings up, right? Now the problem is, if people don't hit bottoms and lose everything, sometimes if people have a roof, a job, an inheritance, some money in the bank, maybe some people have their parents to protect them, they will continue to abuse their bodies with drugs and alcohol. And unfortunately, I've seen some people overdose. I've seen some people drink themselves to death. I've seen people get into car accidents, have major consequences, just because all the codependents haven't left, the money's still in the bank, they still have a home, and everything is safe and familiar. So many times you're going to hear people have to hit a bottom. Well, I'm here to tell you, you don't want to be where I've been if you stay in a relationship and you suffer from consequences. People do die just by staying in relationships and abusing drugs and alcohol. So if you have your little safety net and you're abusing drugs and alcohol, take heed to my warning. It won't get any better. We're just fooling ourselves. Don't be so obsessed on the externals. You know, just if you have a nice car, you have a nice house, the bills are paid, that's all great. But if you're hurting inside and you're with somebody who does not make you happy, hey, we only live one time. Get out of the relationship. Seek some type of counseling from somebody. You know, there's other suggestions that you can take that will help you get out of these situations. I don't want to see anybody in a relationship and go through pain because they feel like they have to. So, let me give you a little rundown of my resume, the way I've misbehaved. Play a little game of skeletons in the closet. So, one of my first girlfriends, this poor girl ran into me at absolutely the worst time possible. You know, we had a few things in common. She was a nice girl and I trusted her. But she caught me in the prime of my partying and alcohol abuse. And sometimes, you know, sometimes I use drugs here and there, but it didn't make anything better. And she had to put up with a lot of BS. And I put this woman through hell. You know, I'd be cheating on her with some girl that I had a previous sexual relationship with for a few years. You know, we'd go out to bars, and I'd be flirtatious with other women behind her back, like I said. I remember one time we got on a party bus for somebody's birthday. We went down to the saddle rack. And, you know, everybody's having shots, having a few drinks, listening to some country music and all this. And, yeah, I threw on some cowboy hat and all this. And I started talking to some woman, and next thing you know, I'm outside around the corner in some alley, and I got her top off, and we're fooling around. And I come around the corner, and here's my girlfriend, and everybody getting back on the bus, and I'm caught red-handed. And the woman who I pulled outside, I introduced her to this girl, you know, like, oh, hey, this is my girlfriend, and I was completely busted, you know. So we had to argue the whole time, and I, you know, lied myself in circles that night. Another time, the girl that I told you about that I was fooling around with on the side that I had a previous sexual engagement with, so me and my girlfriend, we're at the bar, we're hanging out, we make a plan to go back to my house. So I I get some distorted, sick idea to call up the side chick and tell her to meet at my house. So I get to my house with the side chick, and I'm talking, and forgetting that my girlfriend's on her way to the home. So she comes walking in the door, and luckily, before the side chick had disrobed me and had her way with me, Michelle, the girl, had come walking in, and I tried to make it seem like this was some orchestrated meet and greet between the two of them for them to talk, and get to know each other and clear the air and end any type of suspicion or what was going on. So I leave them in the room, and then I go outside and start partying some more in the living room with my buddies and the other people at the party at my house, and I'm trying to lure more women out to my Cadillac out in front of the house to go fool around with. Can you believe this? How could any woman date somebody like me? I was not a good guy. I mean, sure, I was friendly and all that stuff, but, I was so far out. I was so selfish and self-seeking. People's feelings were not anywhere in my mind. I had no regard for any woman. It was really bad. So, we'd go to bed at night, and I'd get my 2 or 3 40-ounce of Coors bottles of beer, and we'd get into bed, and we'd be watching the Golden Girls and stuff, right? And she's complaining about my drinking, like this is like an everyday American family situation where 2 people go to bed with some bottles of Coors Lights, and watch the Golden Girls, and I'm telling her she's the nag, so that I would justify my behavior as to why I was acting out sexually. It's really, really sick. On top of that, women would be calling, all hours of the night to, or texting to go party and snort coke and drink and all this stuff, causing more suspicion. She didn't deserve a guy like me. So luckily, I'm happy to say that she's happily married to a really good guy. I know the guy. They have a couple kids together, and she seems to be doing pretty well. So she got what she deserved, because she didn't deserve a guy like the person I was. Let's just say. The other girl, a few years ago, I was living in San Francisco, and I was really, really missing my daughter. I wanted to get closer to her, and so I went on a date with this girl, and she happened to live in Burlingame. On our first date, she proposes I move in with her because she didn't like my living situation, and she was justifying the move, and I pondered it for about a week, and then I went ahead and I moved in with her to find out that she drank pretty good, and she was a degenerate chain smoker. And I didn't like the way she lived, and I was in this relationship because it was convenient to see my daughter. And she had a lot of nice qualities. We had some fun together, but she was in an abusive relationship before, and she had been beaten and hit and all this. So we'd get into an argument after having a few drinks, and she'd start calling the police on me. So here I am, I'm getting cuffed and taken away, or I'm getting asked to leave. It was a big disaster. So, I remember one time, she was trying to explain to me that, she'll monitor my drinking. I tried to tell her that it doesn't work, So I'm trying to find a job. I'm frustrated, and, I'm trying to get a job closer to where we're living out in the peninsula. And it was just a big fiasco from the get-go. So my intentions were not pure. She was trying to be, save this wild man, and she meant well, but we just weren't meant for each other. So because my intentions weren't pure, it didn't work out. She leaves me with a 12-pack of beer one morning on Christmas Eve, and I get all blasted. And about a week later, she's calling me up wondering why she's got $200 worth of pornographic movies ordered up on her Comcast bill. So, these are the types of behaviors. You got to really be careful with who you're getting involved with, and make sure everybody's stable. And you don't want to get involved in situations like this, especially if the guy is a maniac like I was. Look for the warning signs. I could go on and on with stuff like this, we had a rocky relationship, and the woman would come home, and there'd be booze hidden around the house or thrown on top of the roof. Or I remember one time we had been in some arguments, and I'd left the place, and she came home and she told me that she found me with this stupid headshot of me up on this Craigslist sex ad I left it up on the computer like a fool, not thinking what I was doing, not paying attention, you know, and it was a very embarrassing post, you know, and so, I mean, how am I supposed to lie myself out of that one, you know? Really bad. So, with the law of attraction I've been talking about in the previous episodes, why would the universe give me a pure woman that I can trust when I'm behaving the way I was behaving? How am I supposed to sit here and appraise a woman's physical appearance if I'm not exercising myself and taking care of myself? If I'm eating samplers and burgers and fries at 12 o'clock at night and I'm drinking myself into the hospital, I had no right to appraise a woman on her physical appearance or how she was. So like right now, you know, I feel pretty good. I feel pretty healthy. But I haven't been to the gym in 68 days, all right? Now, I've lost some weight. I made some life changes, and I feel pretty good. But I can't sit around and appraise a woman, you know, that I'm thinking about, you know, maybe taking out or asking out based on, well, she's not physically active enough when I'm not doing anything. You know what I mean? You get what you are, not what you want. So, I want everybody to take a serious look at any types of negative behaviors that they are, you know, displaying, hidden and out in the open with their partners. Because, you know, if you're in a relationship with somebody who's abusive or sexually degenerate or is dishonest or has ulterior motives, or if you're in a relationship just to feel safe because, you know, you're a codependent and you don't even know it, and you're killing yourself spiritually, physically, however way you're doing it, you know, we only live once, man. That's what I'm saying. Really take a look at what's going on, because you can learn a lot from a fool like me. That's all I gotta say. I want to give a shout out to my man Chuck Harney. Happy birthday. My friend Mercedes, she's celebrating 1 year of continuous sobriety. Congratulations to you. See you later on tonight. I want you all to have a great day. I'm going to enjoy the sound of the waves lightly crashing in here to the shore. Then I'm going to go out and hang out with my people. I might even do a little work. Who knows? But I want you all to have a great day. And thanks for taking time out to listen to this. And I hope you got something out of it.